Alright guys, welcome to another SimScott 185 stream. We are having a bit of fun this morning. We are not in the usual 737s, the Airbus of the world, but we are in what the upper class have, which is a cheeky little Cessna Citation Longitude. This is default, comes with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think it's in the Premium Deluxe Edition. So if you got that, you will have access to this. It doesn't cost you any more money to use, and it's pretty good. They've done a lot of updates to avionics, and so yeah, it should be quite a little fun short flight. This we're going from Cardiff up to Edinburgh. Going to drop some people off at the Six Nations Rugby. If it's your first time with us, welcome. You're growing a very small but elite bunch of people who want to watch me stream. If you're here and it's first time, hit the like button, leave a little comment, subscribe, and we'll do a few more of these. So we're on the ground at Cardiff. We haven't done anything particularly to the aircraft. It's cold and dark. You can see the weather outside, a bit cloudy, and we'll probably be about an hour getting up to Edinburgh once we're all set up. The beauty of the Cessna is, the Longitude, is it's pretty quick to set up. So let's jump in the cockpit. And first of all, what we want to do is get some power. So we come down here, external power comes on, get the batteries on, put standby power on as well, and you'll see that the Garmins all kick into life. And this has definitely had a bit of an update since we last came into the Cessna. It's a little bit dark in here, so let's turn on the floods up here. We'll put over here the seatbelts, passenger safety, and we'll put our anti-collision light on so that nobody bumps into us. This airplane, if you're used to using SimBrief, it doesn't have integrated flight plan that you can upload, so you have to do it manually. There's a pretty neat little app that we can use. So people have used SimBrief Panel before. It's basically summarizes your flight plan here and everything in it. You can go here, there's a summary. We've got sort of flight level 320, so 32,000 feet. A couple other things in here. Payload, weather, tells you where we are at Cardiff, so we'll put that in for our pressure settings. And then you've got the raw data here, so we'll use the raw data just now just to set up our route. I'll zoom a little bit for you guys. So this is the route here. It's made up of a number of codes, which can be a bit confusing if this is your first time in the flight sim world, but they're pretty easy to work out. What it starts with is your departure airports. This is Cardiff, and this is the runway, so 30. This is your instrument departure, which we'll discuss through. And then it goes through a series of either waypoints, which could be VORs, they could be GPS based. Airways are usually a letter and then a number. And then we've got fixes as well here. The arrival into Edinburgh. Edinburgh, it's designator, EGPH, and then the runway. So we start punching that in for you guys, just so you've got a little bit of, you can follow along if you're trying to do this. So EGPH is definitely not a good start. We are in Cardiff. So Cardiff comes up, hit enter, add your destination, so that's going to be EGPH, which is here. Hit enter. You can start by putting your procedures in, so we know our departure out of Cardiff is runway 30. It won't come up there at the moment, but if you go to departure, so it's the Brecon 1 Alpha, click that, and runway 30 comes in, which matches that. We'll load that in, and then our arrival into Edinburgh, we will be an input 1 Echo, which is here, and it's runway 24 over here, so runway 24, and we are good to go. Perfect. Okay, let's load that in. We can also put in the approach. We'll do vectors at the moment to the IOS 24. We know it's runway 24. There are transitions, so you could do the initial approach fix but let's do vectors at the moment. Not much air traffic control on at this time in the morning in the UK, but we'll see when we get up there. We might bump into some people, never know. So that's our flight plan. Let's scroll right to the top. So our departure stops at Brecon, which is BCN. You can see it matches here. So we then need to add in the airway. So let's load in the airway. And in the Garmin suite, in the longitude, it actually just, if you hit airway here, it gives you the available ones that are connected to Brecon. So November 864 matches here. And we want to take that to, I think it's Knighton or Nitton. You might not see it in the list here, but you can scroll up and down. You can also sort A to Z if you don't see it at all. So if you come to here, there's Knighton. It's got all the waypoints it's going to go through to get there. So we load that airway. From Knighton, it's another airway, UP17, which is here, taking us to Noken or Noken. Load that airway. From Noken, you've got another airway, which is UP16, and that goes to our Ribble, which is here. Load that airway. One more, which is UN601, and we want to take that to basically IMPIP, and that will be our starting point here. So UN601, IMPIP, IMPIP1 Echo. Load up that airway. So that's pretty much the flight plan locked in, which is really good. Go to performance, weight and fuel, set the empty weight. This is taken from the flight simulator. Hit enter. That's default in. I've already put in our weight and balance here. It's in kgs, and really the only thing we can play with a few things here. You can play with the payload, you can play with fuel. As long as you've got enough fuel to make it, don't get too hyped up about it. So to get to Edinburgh, it says here 2,000 kilograms, just over. We've got about 3,200, so plenty in reserve, but don't need to play with that too much. Just make sure you've got enough fuel to get you there. That just synced with our fuel on board. It's in pounds, but in the simulator, it obviously lets you do it in kilograms or litres. You can change then that through the standing data. Takeoff weather, so interesting. I wonder if this matches if we go up here, go to weather. So if I have a look at the METAR, overcast 32099, yes, it all matches what's in SimBrief as well, and in the SimBrief panel up here. We get the 9 degrees in there, and runway is Cardiff. We're going for runway 30, which we saw in our flight plan down here, which is all good. Takeoff config will be flaps 1. Won't have anti-ice on, it's not cold. We're not going to do a rolling takeoff either. So, accept the takeoff speeds in the flaps. Perfect. So that's pretty much our setup in terms of ready to go. A couple of things you do need to watch for. Down here, the nav source changed to FMS, so that it knows it's following the flight management system. We'll hit flight director here just to turn that on. We're going up to per flight plan, which I've just closed unhelpfully, 32,000 feet. So use this knob here that says altitude, bring it up to 32. When you initially give it a little wiggle, it actually goes up in increments of sort of hundreds, and it changes to 1,000. If you want to get that to 32,000, at the moment it's cycling through in thousands. Give it a push, and it'll let you do it in hundreds. All pretty simple. While we're here, what else should we do? Well, let's get down to our APU, start that up. Hear that outside. It's a cool livery. I got this from FlightSim.2. It's got an American call sign on it at the moment, but we have changed it. Just imagine that. So our call sign going up to Edinburgh today is going to be, just check, yeah, Golf Lima Charlie Delta Hotel. So you can hear the APU spooling up there. Nice. Okay. So that's all started up. You can check if you're unsure if there's anything more to do by using the aircraft systems and synoptics and go to pre-flight. There's a handy checklist here. So you've got the parking brake that's still on, stabilizer trim we need to check, and then the flaps. So stabilizer trim is basically saying over here at the moment our trim is up here and it needs to be in the green range. So use your manual trim, bring it into the green range, you'll see that warning disappears. And that's us sorted there. I'll just click this to full because I want to see the full map. We need to put our QNH in. We saw that the METAR for EGFF is 1037 the QNH, so come here. This will change if we just do this. Whoa, it's actually really high pressure over the UK today. So we keep going up to 1037. Great. In terms of where we are on the airport, we are parked over here. We'll push back, swing the tail around, and then we'll taxi down Alpha to Alpha 1, take off runway 30. After takeoff, we are heading straight out on the runway heading with a right turn up towards Brecon. And you can see there's some constraints in here, 6,000, 4,500. We can actually check those are in our flight plan. You'll see here they are. So we know that we have to be level at 6,000 by the time we get to Brecon, and that's what this has got in the flight management computer. I'll show you how to do that when we taxi out in terms of the autopilot, but we'll be using flight level change in VNAV, even though we've got 32,000 feet in there. And by the time we engage the autopilot, it will respect the constraints, which is pretty cool. For a standard flight simulator, aircraft, it's pretty good. Let's just do some pre-applying the pushback. We don't really need to push back, we could probably just get ourselves out of here okay, but you know, if they're here, let's use them. Give us a chance to start up the engines as well. Theo, let's request pushback. We'll have a chap come over to us. Take the parking brake off while we're here. See there, if I unclick hold, you'll start to push us back. Perfect, we can close this now. Just jump inside and get ourselves down here. To start the engines, it's a clear plastic cover, click run, and you can start both at the same time. That is not a problem in this airplane. Pilot's looking pretty cozy in there. So engine spooling up nicely. Make sure you've got throttles are set back. We'll show you what to do to engage the autopilot in a second. We'll need to come back here, but let's also put the one stage of flaps in. Very quick and easy. That's that guy. He's happy with us. He's had a good day at work. Very easy. So, to engage the autopilot, let's get ourselves underway first before we do that. Got a taxi light on there. Quick cross check of the controls. Okay, Okay, we don't want to hit him with our wing. That would not be a good start to his day or ours. And actually we should, because we are on Vatsim today, guys. Let's put 12280 in. Transfer that in. We'll change our transponder code to 2120. Enter that. It's on auto. Cool. Good. I don't think there's anyone near us in Cardiff. I think we're the only people here, which is also quite cool. Alright, I'll just make a quick announcement and we will get ourselves underway. Where are we heading to? It's 30, isn't it, I think? Yeah. Cardiff traffic, Golf Lima Charlie Delta Hotel, taxiing runway 30 via Alpha to hold at Alpha 1, Cardiff traffic. Cool. So that's all done. So, advanced throttles. We will start moving. In terms of where your autopilot is, or your auto throttle, it's these two buttons here. So click it once, that engages it. If you want TOGA for when we take off, there's a little button here on the side. Click that, and then you are set up and ready to go. Just don't don't do it while you're going too quickly, or you will crash. So short taxi out to the runway. And then we will get ourselves out of here and on the way to Edinburgh. So nav updates and the Garmin updates for this aircraft, pretty good. I'd say you're not paying anything extra, only to get the deluxe version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. But that's it. That's all you're really paying for. The updates are free once you've got that, and the way this Garmin operates, it's great. It's similar to some of the payware stuff that you get, and it's slightly different if you're flying this compared with a Airbus or a Boeing. Just gives you a little bit more to play with. So taxiing out. 20 knots is quite fast. Let's just squeeze at the brakes, tap them, just make sure we're not overshooting anything. Great little livery. Cloudy day in Cardiff, but we'll pop out the top. It should be smooth once we're up there. And a squeeze of the brakes as we career down to the runway. So if you want to follow along where we are, we've literally just taken a left turn, coming down here, and this is Alpha 1 coming up. Perfect. And so we'll make a cheeky little announcement here to tell people where we're going, and then we'll get underway. Cardiff traffic, Golf Lima Charlie Delta Hotel holding Alpha 1 and entering runway 30 for immediate takeoff, Bricken 1 Alpha departure, Cardiff traffic. Super. Right. Let's get on this runway. Just make sure we've got some lights, our landing lights on, so that people can see us. You'll see they are now on. So, auto throttle and TOGA in this aircraft, if you just advance the throttles, it will do it yourself. So, if we just forward and advance, off we go. and our rotate speed is around about 130-ish. Nose wants to come up, just hold it down, and there we go. Gear comes up, and what you want to do is just keep within the magenta flight computer. So we're a bit below, but there we go. And you do need to trim the nose down quite a lot on this because it's got a lot of power to shoot itself up in the air. Wheel, flight level change, and nav. And we'll engage the autopilot as well now. Bring up the flaps. And now the autopilot's taking us up, holding its climb speed of 230 knots, and you'll see that it will start to hit the constraints and it will level off at that point. So it knows it can't go above, I think it was 6,000 feet. Yeah, so we come down into the flight computer. So it needs to be above 2,300, above 3,500, above 4,500, and then it needs to level at 6,000. So let's check if it does it or not. So that's coming out of the clouds. And you'll see we're leveling off at 6,000 feet. So it's respecting the constraints, which is super good. That's what we wanted to do. You can see that the constraint was between 2,300 and 6,000. This is 3,500 and 6,000. There are no speed constraints on this departure, as far as I can see. But it will keep to 250 knots below 10,000 feet. When it gets over Brecon, it'll then start to climb again. And let's say, for example, ATC, I said actually we don't need to keep to the constraints, they clear us up to level. You'll see we're in VNAV at the moment. If we just hit flight level change, it'll take us out of VNAV, and flight level change, we start to climb again. And so if you're ever given that that sort of departure, you can confidently fly it, you can respect the constraints, and you'll be just fine getting out of here. You can see another airplane shooting across the sky here. As we're climbing up to flight level, click in the barometer here, get you up to standard. And that's us on our way. So guys, as I said, if this is your first time watching us, do give give a little hit to the subscribe button. You're all super welcome, and we'll very happily do things that you may want us to do on the channel, things that you may not know about. So I'm not a real world airline pilot, but I can certainly help out with certain things from my general aviation background. That's just passing through about 20,000 feet. Beautiful day once you're above the clouds. Actually, the weather in Edinburgh I think will be okay. Now that we're above the clouds, let's take off our landing lights. We can still keep anti-collision. On the emergency exits, we probably should have done that. So no air traffic control really on the route today, but that's all good. And we got a bit of a tailwind shoving us. It's not much, 5 knots really. Not really giving us a huge impact, but every little helps getting us up to Edinburgh. See the mountains down below in Wales. So yeah, it's a great little jet if you're new to some little or smaller, I guess, airplanes, but still a jet. Then try this out. See how quick it was getting out of Cardiff, setting up the flight plan. It's all really easy. Just follow the steps that I sort of showed, and you will be on your way pretty quickly. And then we'll talk about the arrival and how we set that up, and how you get to plan your descent as well. In this, still got the APU on, so we'll come down here, click that off. The screens down here are pretty good, so at the moment if you hit half, you can have the other half showing all sorts of things. Weather's quite interesting usually. So you can see for your whole route the weather. You can choose to zoom in, zoom out. You can have traffic showing there. If you do that, what you sort of will find is you'll lose part of the detail that you need maybe to look at here. So if I go back to full, you'll see that this has time to top a descent, 20 minutes, and a couple other things, and it's a bit easier to read this. So I tend to have this screen here full, and then have my traffic alerts down here, and it's only showing sort of 2 or 6 miles out, so it's pretty targeted. You can change that using the dial down here on the left. You'll see it change in terms of range. So when we get to our top of descent, what the Garmin is doing is it's calculating based on the descent into Edinburgh. So we have a little chat through that. Let's bring this up, make it a bit bigger for you guys. So we've got to get down to flight level 260 in PIP, flight level 200 in rev, got a maximum 250 knots at ISK2, and then tartan it's max 230 at flight level 070. Now that is all, you can check it here, but it's all programmed in. So flight level 260 at INPIP matches here, 200 at INREV. You see the speed constraint here of 250 at ISK2 as it continues its descent, and then tartan is 7,000, 230 knots here, and then it'll require us to vector ourselves towards the runway. But what the Garmin is doing then is it's saying to get down to that descent point of INPIP at flight level 260, we need to descend in 16 minutes. And the way to set that up, if I can get my cameras right, is you arm VNAV, which is this button here. And what it will do is, if we go down in terms of our altitude and bring it all the way down, let's say to 3,000 feet, because that's where we want to get to at the bottom of our descent. 3,000 is in there. You can see VL and path is armed. When it gets in 15 minutes, it's going to trip into a descent to get us down to 3,000 feet, but it will respect the constraints on the way down. So you don't really need to do a lot of planning around what your descent rate is, anything like that. It's done for you within the Garmin computers, and that's pretty advanced. You see that in PMDG, you see that in Fly-by-Wire and Tolus, but for something that's free, it's pretty good. And you can see also in terms of our flight map, just where we are. And again, we can expand that out. You can see sort of how we're going to get up to Edinburgh. That's actually Liverpool there, so go over the top of Liverpool, swing up left using Ribble, and then we will be en route. Get you guys an outside view. Still, the clouds a little bit look like they've got a bit of sort of speckling in it, maybe that's the word. It's probably just my graphics card, I've got quite an old PC, so not expecting wonders.
Smashing. Copy TV to Papa Mike. To the aircraft on final, how many miles out are you, sir?
Just setting on station, so the power's just come online.
Yeah, receive, many thanks, mate.
So we jump back in, not long until we descend. This aircraft you can use in events at Vatsim. It's got the ability to hold. If we come and have a little look down here, you can do like hold at waypoint. So there's quite a few, I guess, different things that this aircraft can do that maybe people don't know about or they're a bit nervous to use, but it is fully functional. We'll bang in our landing data, so get the weather for Edinburgh. Runway 24, 7,000 feet. Flaps full will be what we're looking for. I'm not sure why you'd be landing without, maybe it's, I don't know. I'm not sure why you would have them out. Maybe it's just assuming that you're not going to use them, and therefore it will use a landing factor to put that in. You can change the landing factor if you really want. Oh, hello. But we'll accept that landing data. Basically, approach at 134 knots and 123 knots. Now, if you are on Vatsim in an event, I put in my flight plan what my approach speed is, because that is significantly slower than a big jet. And if someone is trying to come in behind you and someone says your minimum speed, you're going to basically back up into a larger jet coming in behind. So worth just putting that in the flight plan in the notes so someone's aware of it, and they can controller can adapt around it. But it shouldn't be a blocker to using it in these types of events. Got that all sorted. Can grab the METAR for Edinburgh. I wonder if we can go. Yeah, let's get down here. So QNH 1032 in Edinburgh. So we can again go back to our barometer and we can put in 1032. We're still on standard at the moment because we haven't started our descent, but you see that gets put in, and that's preloaded for when we want to actually start our descent into Edinburgh and move from flight levels to feet, or to altitude, sorry. So if we have a little look at our top of descent, 6 minutes out. You can see that makes sense because we've got IMPIP soon after. You can see it on the map here. It's this little bullet target. So we'll get over that and then we'll start descent into Edinburgh. Doesn't look too busy in Edinburgh, so not expecting any sort of holds or traffic, but we just make sure we're making the right calls as we go in. Normally, this aircraft can go up to like 43,000 feet. Just kept it a bit lower because of the shorter flight, but there's nothing to say we could have gone up there. You're burning a lot less fuel, and actually these planes fly a lot higher than the airliners and tend to be shooting across with their very rich passengers. But we kept it as simple as possible today. When it comes to landing, so we come back down here, get into our flight plan. In procedures, you click on approach. If you're getting vectored, and we'll show you how to do this, we can vector ourselves. We'll use heading modes, and flight level changes in the autopilot. But you click activate here, and that will then activate the localizer and the iOS in the airplane. You can also do it manually over here by switching from FMS to localizer mode as well. So a couple of ways to do it. But again, don't be nervous about it. It's the same as what you do in any other Boeing or Airbus. It's just that this is slightly, I think it's actually easier to do it in, but it can be so automated that you get a bit confused. So it'll be interesting as we get to Edinburgh. There's a KLM flight coming in from Amsterdam, which will get there similar time to us, and then there's actually some general aviation traffic that is also around. So we'll see. We can all vector ourselves in, hopefully without air traffic control, but just one of the slight challenges of Vatsim. But again, just talk to everyone. They will all make room for you. Okay, so we are pretty close to, if I can get the right screen for you guys, I'll come down this way, top of descent. See, it's calculating the time to it, and we're about 1 minute and 10 seconds out. And what will happen is, when we get to top of descent, we should see the engine spool back, see the nose go down over here, we'll start our descent, and it will be following the path to get to IMPIP for flight level 260. So, it's very exciting. 15 seconds to go. You can see it's calculating the targeted descent rate. So, engines are now spooling back, nose is going down. And that's us starting our descent into Edinburgh. So the weather in Edinburgh, I don't think it's too bad. We can maybe, let's see if we fetch that. Still quite old. Let me do it through other ways so we can get it through. Let's see. Not there, but through our flight path. Yeah, we can get it in the procedure bit. Oh no. It's performance. Landing data, all weather, METAR. So what's it showing is 9999, which is basically unlimited visibility. Clouds broken at 1200 feet, so 1200. Temperature 10, dew point 7, and that's the pressure setting, so nothing unusual. There's about a 12 knot wind on a heading of 250, so that's right down the runway, because we'll be coming into runway 24, so slight offset, so 10-degree crosswind, but nothing particularly difficult to worry about. Cool. So starting our descent into Edinburgh, guys. So our first constraint per the arrival was to hit IMPIP at flight level 260. We are 1.7, 1.6 miles ahead, away from it, and you can see we're about to go right 26,000 feet. So spot on from the longitude. Next one is in rev at flight level 200, which you'll see. We're now going from IMPIP to NREV. Got 16 miles. Be there in 2 minutes or so, and therefore it's calculating over here what sort of descent rate we need to have, which is about 2,550. Sort of getting 2,400. This VDEV is how far off you are from your descent path. So if you are higher or lower, it'll show here, and then you can do different things to correct it. So if VNAV isn't working for you, you can use vertical speed, and that'll get you down to the level that you need to do. You can use flight level change, which will stick to a particular speed if you want to go down. So similar to level change in a Boeing. So it's got all the sort of operational side of things that you need to fly with full air traffic control. And what we're going to do, because we know Edinburgh pretty well for people who've watched this stream, it's a favourite. From Tartan, we're basically going to vector ourselves out here, bit of a left turn for a, I guess in essence we'll go downwind, base leg, and then final. So come around here and basically loop ourselves around. That's the plan anyway. Let's see what happens. So again, in rev was at 20,000 feet, we're going to hit that constraint. And then our next one is Tartan. You can see as well we're starting to slow down because part of our constraint was that when we got over Estu, we had to be at 250 knots. So again, the plane is starting to slow down, and it knows that it has to get to 250 knots by the time we go over Estu. Now a few clouds around, but nothing too taxing at the moment. You can see it's sort of just trying to get itself down. It's got 30 seconds or so, and the way that the airplane's doing this, and this is sort of how we fly in general aviation, is that you can see that the throttles are right back here. If I come down here, like the throttles are idle, so the only thing really controlling the speed is our rate of descent. So it will manage using this rate of descent here to get to 250 knots. It will either raise the nose or lower the nose, and raising the nose obviously bleeds off speed, so you will slow down, and if you put the nose down as you point towards the earth, you will increase your speed, and that's how it does it. So it's not using a load of fuel here, it's basically turned into a glider, and what it's doing is it's gliding down towards a speed that it's trying to achieve via the pitch, so where the nose is. It's exactly what you do in any aircraft. I wonder if people actually take private jets to the rugby. I imagine they do. If you've got the money, this would be a nice way to do a day out. So, as we get below 10,000 feet, in preparation, just stick landing lights on. In theory, that also lets other planes see you, and they can watch out for you as you come into land. Wouldn't just do that at night. During the day, the lights on these airplanes are usually LEDs, and if you've got the gear down, you'll be able to see them pretty clearly even in daylight today, so it's useful for avoiding any other airplanes. And yeah, don't just use the lights at night. That's not what they're there for. It's more for danger awareness, spotting other planes, and I think on Vatsim and on the flight simulator, they work pretty good. You can see when our planes are using their lights in a slightly different way. So pass through 10,000 feet, slightly naughty, we're just ahead on our 250 knots, but we're aiming to get to Tartan at 7,000 feet, and then the airplane will sort of get a bit confused because it won't, as you can see, after Tartan we don't really have a next waypoint apart from lining up ourselves on the iOS, so we'll zoom out slightly. And we're going to basically manually, if I could stop moving you around so you'll get motion sickness, from here we're going to take a heading probably of about like 30 or 40 degrees. Think of the compass rose. We'll head off this way, and then we'll come in and line ourselves up for a nice approach into runway 24. What we'll also do is we'll just move to local pressure, which is the 1032, so I'm just going to click on this again, and that we'll see it jumps up because we're above standard pressure, which is 1013. But that's us coming towards Tartan, and then from Tartan we will just sync our heading bug by clicking this. And we'll get ready to go off on a heading of about sort of 030. What we'll also do is we'll move from VNAV and we'll engage flight level change mode, because that will continue the descent. But it will maintain the speed that we want as well. A little bit more choppy as we get down. You see we're going to level off at 7,000 feet, because that's the constraint at Tartan. So if there was air traffic control, and that's where we would then get cleared to further descent level. You can also see the traffic now. So this person here is the Amsterdam arrival, and we're going to get quite close to each other. And this is the general aviation traffic that I was talking about. I wonder if anyone's going to talk to each other. Oh, let's see. Well, that's going the wrong way entirely. So let's go into heading mode, and the reason that was doing that is it didn't have anywhere else to go. So let's get to heading about 030. Can't VNAV, we'll go to flight level change, and we will move to manual speeds as well. So all I did there was click this little thing here, and it moves it to manual, and then you can adjust your speed. So 240 knots, I can move to there, and then we continue our descent. And you can see it's descending quite rapidly because it wanted to catch up to that 240 knots. Don't know what the constraint is at Tartan. It's probably not that, is it? That's 230 knots. Let's move down to 230 then. And again, you'll see the nose getting pitched up to maintain that. I've got a feeling we're all going to come into conflict with each other, which could be quite interesting. So let's start chatting to some people and see what's happening. Edinburgh traffic, Golf Lima Charlie Delta Hotel is on a downwind for runway 24, setting up for a 10-mile final, descend to 3,000 feet, Edinburgh traffic. What we'll also do, someone might answer that, but we'll come down here. We showed you this before, but...
Aircraft traffic, Lima Lima, descent at 3,000, speed to 20, heading is 320. What expect to lie is person back to 4, Edinburgh traffic.
That's the KOM. I'll just adjust our heading. So all we're doing now is we're in heading mode. You can see that because I activated approach, this is now in lock 1, which is localizer mode. We have the localizer on the screen here, and we'll get the glide slope as we get closer. We'll also start to slow down when we get to 3,000 feet. You can see that KOM is still quite high. So there, about 5,000 feet, I think, above us. Yeah, so he's descending. So we've hit 3,000 feet. Might just to create a bit of a gap between him and me, speed up a bit to, we're at 230 knots. When we get over the water, we'll descend a little bit more, create a bit of space. So this is just about knowing what's around you, what you're looking for, and feeding in and trying to fit in as best as possible. Got the general aviation traffic there. This is the KLM. Don't know if we can see him. Yeah, there he is. So that's in the distance, the lights of the KLM. So we'll head north. Oh. And we'll descend as well to 2,000 feet. Flight level change again. And we will need to start slowing down at some point. He's going to get himself in a right pickle, I think. Because I'm not going to go as fast as he is. Let's see. Maybe we can just shoot in for an approach. Can't be too difficult, right? He's still really high though. Well, we'll see how this all works out for everyone involved. Very exciting. We are going to have to slow down though, unfortunately for him. To about 180 knots. Just because otherwise we will go flying through the localizer and we really don't want to do that. And we'll just change our heading a little bit to intercept the localizer. So you can see now, this G is the glide slope, and this is the localizer, so all good at the moment. So we're just setting up an intercept heading here. He's still really high. And we can't see him anymore. Oh, there he is. He's super high. He's up there. Coming in hot, my friend. This could end in tears, but let's see what happens. So, to intercept the localizer, you hit the approach button when it starts moving. That's pretty much it at that point. It'll then fly down the localizer. Just got to watch the needle, and when this starts to close in, then hit approach and it will capture the localizer. There it goes. So hit approach. And you see the airplane start to turn. In the meantime, where's our friend? There he is. Big old KLM swinging round. Golf Toto Hotel is established runway 24 in the localizer, 2,000 feet, 10 miles to run, runway 24.
Emerald, Golf Alpha Zulu November Yankee, right base, runway 24, 7 to the 320 on
so we'll keep 180 knots just at the moment. Put in one stage of flaps because we're below 200 knots. This glide slope will start to come in. As we
Edinburgh
get
traffic
closer.
KLM 47 Lima, establish on the localizer, runway 24, 12 knots.
It's going to be really bad. Let's see what happens. I think he's a bit close. But we'll see. Let's stick the gear down. There is the runway. And again, don't worry what's happening behind us, guys. That's sort of up to that chap to sort out. Our big traffic jam. You can see the glide slope coming in. It's now being captured. And Edinburgh traffic for planning, we'll keep 180 knots to 4 DME and then slow to 160 for a short final Edinburgh traffic.
Edinburgh traffic KLM 47 Lima, 9 miles DME, runway 24, speed is 170.
There we go. Well, hopefully that's creating a gap. It's to 160 knots. See if we can see behind us. He's not near us at the moment, which is good. And so we're slowing down to 160 knots and short final into Edinburgh. What we'll do at some point is we will crack out the next stage of flaps, which we can do about now. And we might actually just land with 2 stages of flaps, I think, just to create a bit of speed to get off the runway for the person behind. So that's there. And that's its own short final. We normally want to be about 130 here, but because of the people behind, we'll slow down at the last minute. Still quite low, but we're okay actually. Bit choppy, bit windy. Put the final stage of flaps in, that'll slow it right down. Bit of a balloon. And we kind of want to land quite long because that person behind us will want us to get off the runway as quickly as possible. So don't worry about using as much runway as you want. There we go, that's us down. And we'll just do a really long roll out here. Not putting any brakes on. And we'll lift up our flaps. And we'll take the first left, which is coming up. So we'll get out of the way, and then we should be good.
Edinburgh traffic KLM 47 Lima, short final, runway 24, skip Edinburgh traffic.
And Golf Delta Hotel is clear of runway 24 Edinburgh.
Thank you.
Keeps us that way, so welcome to Edinburgh everyone. Really
Go from every Yankee position, 5 miles behind the KLM.
nice little airport to come into. Got a few things happening as we came in there, but nice soft landing. Take landing lights off and start the APU down here, and we'll taxi down to general aviation, and and then shut down. But yeah, look, if this is your first time with us, guys, thank you for joining. It's hopefully been educational for you guys. If you want to get up in the Citation, do it. It's really nice, and it's a good airplane to get involved in and get a bit of an understanding around. KLM coming into land on final, which you'll see. There he is.
Golf November, Yankee final Cessna.
There we go. Nice. Oh, here comes our car. Hello. Alright, we're going to head down here to General Aviation.
Edinburgh traffic, KLM for 7 Lima, Citation for runway 24. Clear the runway, thank you.
How did he vacate so quickly? Interesting. Because there's another aircraft on short final, I think, there. Anyway, we'll put it down here. So yeah, guys, do try this sort of flight out. Pretty short. Say if you haven't been with us before, but have enjoyed the stream, then make sure that you give it a quick like and subscribe. Come down to the haves rather than the have-nots and drop these people off. A little bit off the centre line there, but that's all good. Right, let's go and park down here. You can see these people in their fancy cars. We don't have that. Alright guys, well, welcome to Edinburgh. Thanks for joining us, and give it a little comment. Enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll catch up soon.